Good evening, everybody. How are you? It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. And I hope everybody's having a fantastic 4th of July. Thank you all for joining me this evening. If you're hanging out, I, of course, am Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, and it's an Independence Day live stream. That's right. Silence, Redcoats. But welcome, one and all. I'm glad you're here. Now, I don't know how good my filtering is working. If you guys are hearing the fireworks going off in the background as the neighborhood celebrates our independence. But hey, if you are, it's Foley, it's sound effects for tonight's show, because tonight, once again, and he'll be joining us here in just a minute, I have the inestimable Dr. Timothy Imholt tonight. And once again, I'm putting him through the ringer of a little bit of giant robot and anime mecha fun, as we're going to be playing some of our Talsaurians, Mecton Zeta Plus, which was at least to date the ultimate version of their tabletop game of anime and mecha roleplay, which in the 90s was quite the topic. So yeah, we're going to be doing that in just a minute. But just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, please do click the subscribe button, click the bell icon for notifications. And I want to thank everybody who has done that, because oh my Lord, we're at 6,121 subscribers now. And that is just awesome, because you know what happens when we reach 6,200? Nothing in particular, but it'll be nice to watch the numbers go up, won't it? But, seriously, guys, thank you all so much. And if you're considering doing that, if you're considering clicking that button, why not go ahead and do it? Because then you can find out about all of our live streams, all of our interstitial videos, special events, nights when we have awesome guests like Tim here in just a few minutes, when we do deep dives and demos and let's plays and live plays, or I just put my feet up and hold forth on the things that I find to be awesome. And speaking of awesome, of course, our guest tonight. Our guest tonight, once again, is Timothy Imholt, and let's bring him on, and let's talk a little bit of giant robot madness. So everybody, please put your hands together for Tim Imholt. Tim, how the heck are you this evening, sir?
Good. So July 4th is the day I like to thank one country in particular, England, because they've made more Independence Days than anybody else as they broke up the British colonies.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. So, Tim, you being a Texas resident there, I'm guessing fireworks for you guys is just like firing law rockets and throwing hand grenades, right?
It's just like a Tuesday around here, man.
Right.
The cool thing is some of the areas around here are now doing drone shows, which are a lot more fun, to be honest.
Drone shows. Now, what do you mean drone shows?
So they take like these swarm of drones and they get it to make different things in the sky, and then it transforms into something else, and it kind of moves around, and it doesn't create enough noise to scare small children or dogs for 200.
Oh, yeah. I've actually, I saw that a few years ago, and I didn't, I thought it was really cool, but I completely forgot about the tech. They were doing that in China. I saw that was pretty neat. So it's kind of cool to know they're doing that now.
Yeah, they're doing that here because it's so hot and dry here that you could start a grass fire in like a second. So you got to be real careful.
Oh, sure. What was it? It was 1999. I remember it like it was yesterday. Every county in Florida was on fire. Every county in Florida had a major brush fire going in. It was absolutely horrible. And we were in the middle of a drought. And yes, they absolutely did cancel all the fireworks shows that they were planning that summer. And wisely so. Wisely so, I should point out. So.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like you just be cool, just wait.
So everybody just chill out a little bit.
Yeah. January's not that far away when we can shoot them off in the New Year's Eve celebrations. So.
Yep.
But anyway, well, thank you. As a guy who deals or has in the past dealt with high energy, well, I hesitate to say weaponry, high energy projectors, shall we call them. I hope you're excited about getting your giant robot combat on tonight.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Dueling Dragon Adventures. Hello, Matthew Sherman. Happy 4th to you. If I missed anyone out there, sit still. I'll take a deep breath and I'll get you. Don't worry. Anyway, so let's kind of recap a little bit what we did last time. First of all, the game we're talking about, and I did remember to get the PDF over to this machine. So, finally doing what I need to be doing. But giant robot games. And what I mean by giant robot is, everything from like an Iron Man style powered armor suit up to something chunkier like Starship Troopers, or even chunkier like Heavy Gear or Votoms, or the 10-story tall stuff like Gundam or Macross Robotech for my fellow Americans.
So aliens on up to robot jocks.
Aliens on up to robot jocks, exactly. Basically, if it has two legs and is vaguely humanoid and stompy, it was of interest back in the 90s. And Tim said the very painful term, the Charles S. Band film Robot Jocks, which you and I were talking about that.
It's on Tubi, man. It's
on Tubi. It's free. At that price, it still costs too much. But I'll say this, for reasons that I still don't understand, I guess it falls under he needed a paycheck. Joe Haldeman wrote the screenplay for Robot Jocks.
It was early on in his career. Come on, give him a break.
I don't know if it was that early on, because he wrote the Forever War right after his experiences in Vietnam. And don't judge Joe Haldeman's work by the Forever War or by Robot Jocks. Judge it by Forever War, and you'll get a better experience with Joe Haldeman.
I'm going to throw a number out there because everybody says, like I've written a bunch of 7 now fiction novels.
Yeah.
And everybody's like, oh my God, you're a writer. You must make so much money. To be in the top 1% of earning authors in the United States, you need to earn $40,000 a year. And Stephen King's included in that number. If you take him out, it probably drops down to like 30. But yeah.
So
you don't make a lot as a writer is my point. He might have needed the money.
Exactly. I've read a lot of authors on the process of writing and selling. I mean, Tolkien sold the rights to Lord of the Rings for £10,000. £10,000. He was in tax trouble. He just needed to settle a tax issue and sold the rights for £10,000. Think about the Lord of the Rings. Even at the time when it was only big amongst scholars and hippies, and £10,000, even back then, that's not a lot of money. David Mills says George R.R. Martin drags that number down. Man, okay, so Tim, did you see my George R.R. Martin comment? People are divided on that. But of course, I said something pretty divisive. I don't care much for George R.R. Martin.
So if you haven't seen it after the show, of course, on YouTube, everybody should search the term "Write Faster George R.R. Martin." It's the funniest folk song video you will ever see.
I'll have to check that one out.
He's referred to in it as the gray bearded glacier.
Right on. Okay, so last night, Tim, we made up a good-looking, if how can I say this politely?
Stupid.
I was going to say challenged. A good looking, if stupid, anime character for you.
I chose to think of him as the Han Solo of anime characters. He's all charisma, no intelligence.
There you go. There you go. I mean, he keeps the Falcon going. Hey, Chewie's the one who fixes the Millennium Falcon.
Chewie and R2D2 are the ones that keep the Falcon.
He's the one that kept the Falcons flying. So yes, you kind of got a young Han Solo type character, and we are going to throw you into a mech cockpit tonight. I have the rules right here set up for us, and I have the stat sheet, which I'm going to share. Now, this won't matter much until we get there. But I had, that's the World of Greyhawk map. That's nice, but not what we need.
Check the dice roller while we're at this.
Okay, yeah. Fire off and make sure
it's not showing up.
Okay, let me do a quick refresh on that. DD Dice is really cool, and it's a lot of fun to have handy, but sometimes it goes to sleep. So let's see here. There we go. Let's see if your end is working, Tim.
Nope. Let me refresh my side and see what happens.
Okay, yep. Sometimes it just takes a quick refresh of the page. So anyway, while Tim's doing that...
Nope. I got nothing, man.
Huh. Well, this will not stand. Let me...
You do a hard refresh of that page.
Yeah. Try that, and failing
which
that...
is tech lingo for beat it up a little bit. There we go.
There we go. All right.
Hard refresh sometimes does it.
Okay. So now let me make sure mine's working too. Still again. There we go. Okay. So mine is still working. Tim's is working, and everything is happy. So go ahead.
And I feel safe tonight because apparently there's no owlbears in this game, so
no, there are no owlbears. So what we have, and I'm not going to have these up on the screen the whole time, and Tim, I don't expect you to lean forward and try and peer at this, but we're going to keep it simple. We've got a nice 2 mech battle happening tonight. This is the Rapier, and for those of you not familiar with the Mechton system, as you can see, it's kind of a complex looking sheet. I promise you the combat is a little less complex than this. And this is primarily why I didn't say, oh, let's do mech design and Tim can have his own custom machine. Maybe we'll do that in another time. Yeah, it takes a few minutes. I mean, I think it took us like an hour to build your character last night.
An hour and a half. Jimmy Invictus has a great idea. I think my mech should be named Owlbear Alpha.
I love it. That can be your call sign. I am absolutely okay with that.
Hey, a guy was in the army we tried to give him the call sign God of Sheep. Don't ask why.
I won't. I absolutely won't ask why, Tim. Thank you for telling me not to. All right. One thing I am going to put up on the screen is, first of all, periodically, we will be looking at the table cam we've got there. That is a couple of BattleTech grid boards and a couple of miniatures. We've got right here and right here, and generally open terrain because we want to keep this as simple as possible. We want to get to the shooty part, not the spend a while doing, chess-like maneuvers part, which can be fun, but at the same time, can be a little bit, much. But we'll see how that progresses. Now let me see. You should have been able to see my smiling face there on that one. Let me go back. And am I not? Oh, I was I was behind my own on-screen tag. So there I am. If I need to be on screen at the same time as we move, that is where I will be. So we'll make this Really, really simple, Tim. Um, One fine day after classes have let out, it's the end of the semester. You know, you've taken your advanced courses and that sort of thing, and you've charmed the socks off of your instructors once again to get those D's made into C's or even B's perhaps, and you're headed back to the family compound because when we rolled up your character, I believe you were extremely wealthy, were you not?
Yes, I was the noble class, wealthy with a whole bunch of credits.
Yes, that's right.
With six brothers, one of
Yes.
whom dislikes me, three of whom are neutral, one likes me, and one hero worships me.
Oh, there you go. So just for the sake of tonight's scenario, and it won't be too deep into role play, although time permitting, we will get a little bit into role play, into the role play rules, for lack of a better term. Um, I'm going to do this real quick, though. I'm going to share a screen, and again, Tim, I don't expect you to try and lean in and read this. Let me make sure I'm at the. Here we go. Share and okay. So we have the rules right here for combat. You are headed back to the family compound. You're gonna put put a coat of turtle wax on your family rapier there. When suddenly sirens sound out across the city, you hear the thundering boom of the sound barrier being broken. And overhead, you see drop pods flying in, and they all bear the marking of the Tau Space Empire. Once again, the Tau are attacking your peaceful homeworld.
Okay.
You rush home as quickly as you can. You know, your father, being a techno-industrialist, his factories and your land holdings would be a prime target for Tau forces to try and steal technology from or damage or otherwise terrorize. And it's just when you get home and climb into the cockpit of your mech, you power up the fusion engine, you hear the magnetic bottle thump into life, all green on your heads up display and on your MFDs and everything. When you hear the grinding crunch on the ferrocrete, on the broad avenue that leads to your family's compound of an approaching mecha, hoping against hope that it's the planetary defense, you send out an identify friend or foe query and it comes back with a big red X on your MFD. Rounding the corner, you see one of the dreaded Tau Kraken, a low-slung, lethal machine of missile pods and beam guns. You're already in your cockpit. Behind you, along here, let me see. Let me just remove that. Is the border of your family's estate. Marching straight towards you is the Tau Kraken. Along this side of the map is the river that runs next to your family estate. Over here is a soundproofing wall. The 27-lane superhighway runs this direction. So you basically have a very narrow avenue to try and stop your opponent. And that is where we find ourselves right from the get-go. So we're going to introduce the rules as we go. Okay. So I'm going to take a look at this. And Tim, of course, you and anyone out there in the audience, you feel free to stop me if you have any questions as we go. Tim, yes?
Before we do the rules as we go, what kind of weapons do I have available?
So on your mech, I'm glad you asked. On your mech, you have, where is that window? too many windows, not enough space. There we go. All right, so at your disposal, you of course have the 2 manipulator hands you can throw punches in melee with. You have 4 rocket launcher packs. You have 2 autocannon, a heavy autocannon, and 2 autocannon reloads. So you can reload your lighter autocannons one time each, or reload one of them twice. And you've got your rocket launchers and so on. Now your rocket launchers each have 10 shots.
Okay.
And you have a total of 4 of those. Your autocannons each have 10 bursts, as does your heavy autocannon.
So I have 4 missile groups.
4 missile groups, 2 autocannons,
2 cannons,
and a heavy autocannon.
And 1 heavy autocannon with 10 burst.
Yes. And your missile launchers, if it matters, are on your left and right arm and left and right leg, respectively.
Okay.
Okay. So, all combat in Mechton Zeta takes place in a series of rounds, with each player acting in an order determined by their initiative. Each round represents 10 seconds, with each of the players acting in pseudo-simultaneous turns. Since it's very difficult to keep track of things when everything is happening at once, the order in which players will act is determined by their mecha reflex, or just reflexes in a human skill combat. So we're talking about mecha reflex here, and we'll get to that in just a second. There's an initiative roll for every round, and let's see. Let me just pull something up here. 90s rule book. Rules tend to be a little bit scattered, so.
I'm sorry, I don't have any Coke Wave of Mutilation. The only thing I have around here is root beer and sun-kissed orange soda.
Man, sun-kissed orange soda is awesome. All right, so
Kabuki Kid, I do love those glass bottle Coca-Colas. Those are great.
Yes, I had one. I had one today actually with my hamburger. We did a cook-in.
It was 101 degrees outside today. I wasn't going to go out there and barbecue. You can forget that.
Yes. Okay, so Tim, what are your character's reflexes?
Reflexes, 6.
6. Okay, so your movement value on your mech, which is determined by its bulk, its the speed of its servos and everything, is -5. So your total mecha reflex is 1. That's not bad. That's actually not that's actually not terrible. So initiative, let's see. Initiative is going to be 1d10 plus 1. So let's go ahead and kick this off, and you go ahead and give me an initiative roll, please. So we got, is that a 7?
That's a 3.
That's a 3. Okay.
No, right. Wait, I mean 7. Yeah, it was a 7.
No, I tabbed over. I tabbed over.
So for anybody who doesn't know, I have been a DM before, and I don't fudge dice rolls, much to my kids' chagrin.
All right, let's get as many of these windows out of the way as I can to make things a little bit easier on myself. Oh, where did you go? There it is. Okay. All right, I've got to open up that sheet again because, of course, there we go. Kraken. Give me the Kraken. Okay. So he is also -5. And I am going to say that the pilot, that their reflexes is a total of 5. So they just get a regular D10 roll here. And they get a 5. So they will move first. And let's see. They have a land movement allowance of 5 hexes. Now, if it matters to anyone, the standard hex in Mechton is 50 meters. So let's lumber them forward 50 meters.
And what are the range? What's the range of my missiles?
Your missile ranges, Tim. Let's see.
Because I'm thinking long range with missiles, and when we get closer in, then comes the autocannon.
All right. So your missile, yes, each of your missile launchers has a range of 7.
7 hexes?
Yes, 7 hexes. I'm sorry. If I give a value like that, just assume I mean 7. All right, here we go. You can hear that scary beeping as as whoever is driving their machine towards you is trying to lock you up with their targeting computer, but they're still just a skosh too far away. It is your action, and your rapier has a land movement value of 4 hexes, but a flight movement allowance of 9 hexes. That is, you can jump up and leap and move forward if you wish.
How many hexes away am
I? Let's have a quick look then. So right now it looks like you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's 12 hexes to your target.
So I can move 5?
You can move 5 by, I'm sorry, 4. You can move 4 by walking, or you can jump 9.
Okay, I'm going to jump 5 and go to the absolute outside of missile range.
Okay.
I have a plan.
Okay, are you going straight forward, or are you going to break left or right?
I think I'm going to go straight forward.
Okay. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there you go. Now, you can perform up to 2 actions in your round. So sometimes, like in this case, it's actually better to go second. So you jump in.
Well, then it's missile flame. Missiles are flying, man.
Okay. So now your rocket packs, or your missile packs rather, they are not linked. So you can fire one at a time, and they have a burst value each. That is when you pull the trigger. Let's see. Cost. Okay. They're not burst. They're just 1 apiece. So let's just go to the rule book real quick and double check that.
You see that, guys? Bill's being a rules lawyer.
Bill's being a wants to be fair about the rules. Let's just put it like that. I don't want to cheat anyone here.
So while Bill's looking that up, Tuesday night on the Tuesday night first edition game, every time he got up and took his headphones off and went over to the game board, we were playing yakety sax in the background, just for fun.
Oh my gosh.
Some good Benny Hill humor, man.
Right on.
I have a guy that works for me that's a saxophone player or was in a band for years. And his wife is a piano teacher. She's a PhD in music composition. And I was teasing him. I'm like, dude, you got to do yakety sax for me someday. He's like, there's no way in hell I can do that. That thing apparently is really tricky.
Okay. So, Tim, you're firing a rocket pack, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. So, they're not in cover. Determine. So, you're in the front arc. Attack roll. Defender attempts to parry. And you're not calling a shot. You're just trying to blast them somewhere.
I just want to hit them someplace at distance. But I want to go for something big so that I don't stand a big chance of missing. So probably try to go with the torso.
That's fine. Okay, so what
center mass, baby?
what is your mecha missile skill?
My mecha missile skills.
Because I'm almost certain you took that.
No, I didn't. I did. +1.
Okay. All right. So it is your mecha reflexes, which is 1, +1, plus the weapon accuracy of the given weapon, and the weapon accuracy of the rocket launcher is +0, plus 1d10.
Okay, so I get a +2 basically?
Yes, 1d10 +2.
All right, well, I'm putting the +2 modifier on the roll. I rolled a 1, it makes it a 3.
Okay, a 3. So let's check. I'm pretty sure that's going to miss, but let's go ahead and look it up, because again, we want to give your all right. So no, there's no knockback. All right, mecha reflex is 0 plus 1d10, but we'll see. Oh, that is not what I want to do. There we go. Awesome. Completely determined. All right, so here we go with defense. Didn't Tim buy all the missiles? just glass him. All right.
Well, I'm too close to use nuclear missiles. That doesn't really work.
Yeah, they're not really. That's not really at the 16-year-old defending his family home level.
At least not when you're next to the family home property, right? That's kind of a
right. Okay, so they are going. Whoever is piloting this thing is going to make a defensive roll to try and thwart your attack, and all of their bonuses are going to add up to Bupkis. You rolled a total of 3, correct?
That is correct.
All right, and they got a 10. So they basically hunkered down, and your missiles flew right over them. So, you have unleashed a barrage of missiles at them. It is now the second round, and Tim, we come to initiative. So it is going to be a D10 +2, I believe. Yes.
Oh, I get a +2.
Well, you get your MR, which is 1.
Yep.
Let me see.
I do have a +1 on dodge and escape, but we're not on that one yet.
We are not on that one yet. No.
4 on movement. So,
all right. Go ahead and roll your D10 whilst I pull this up.
Another 1, but with a +2 modifier that gives me a 3.
That gives you a 3. That is correct. Okay.
The law of gaming: the dice giveth, the dice taketh away.
Okay. So your opponent, seeing you're armed and ready to party, is going to move on the ground. One, 2, 3, 4. And they are going to fire at you. Let's see. How about a nice beam cannon shot at you? So they are firing their beam cannon. Their beam cannon's weapon accuracy, beam gun rather, weapon accuracy is +1. So 1 plus their beam skill of 1. So that is 2 plus 8 is 10. So let's see. Do you, you'll need to make a defensive roll. So in your case, it's going to be your mecha reflexes plus a D. I'm sorry?
A 6.
All right. Well, no, your mecha reflexes, not your
sorry,
your mecha
sorry.
reflexes.
Okay.
So it's going to be 1 plus D10 plus, let's see, 10. Let's see, evade and parry. All right, and there was no called shot. Oops, that was for vehicles, not, well, I mean, this is a vehicle. So for mecha combat, so 1d10 plus d10. What is your mecha piloting, Tim?
I don't have a modifier on that one.
Yeah, I could have sworn we got a modifier for your mecha piloting.
No, I went with 0G. No, I don't have a modifier on that one. I have a +1 to dodge and escape, but I don't have one on mecha piloting.
Okay, well, you should have at least 1 in that. So for the sake of the demonstration, we'll say that you've got 1. So it's going to be 1d10 plus your mecha reflex of 1 plus your mecha piloting of 1. So roll that.
9, which gives me an 11.
9. You actually jerk out of the way as that beam cannon bears down on you. You see that thing kind of lining up, and you duck out of the way. So, Tim, it's over to you. What do you want to do?
Let's see. I'm close enough in to use autocannon, right?
You are close enough.
So I can do 2 things. I'm going to shoot more missiles.
Okay.
And a heavy autocannon.
Okay, so missiles first. So go ahead and roll your d10 plus your missiles skill.
A 6 plus 1 is 7.
A 6 plus 1 is 7. These have no weapon accuracy, so that is your second pod of missiles that you fire at them. They will attempt to evade. A 3 with all bonuses. Okay, so your missiles hit. Now fire your heavy autocannon. And your heavy autocannon is... I'm sorry, the weapon accuracy on your... Oh, I was looking at the other sheet. No, you're fine. Your heavy autocannon, though, has a weapon accuracy of -1. So this attack will be at -1.
Okay, but does it count as an automatic weapon?
Not, I mean, yes, but no.
All right, because I have a modifier for that one. All right, but -1. All
right.
2 minus 1 is 1.
2 minus 1 is 1. Okay.
I'm going to bet that misses.
Well, you still get your 2 or you still get your 1 for mecha reflex. Don't forget. So it is a 2. Hell, I could still roll. I could roll 1. Remember, I get no special modifiers for piloting. Just missed, but you did hit with your second rocket launcher attack. So that is 4. Let us look. Let's go over here, guys, and we'll look real quick. I hope everybody is enjoying this. People out there talking about heavy metal. You don't get heavier than 75-ton mechs when it comes to heavy metal. Well, I mean, you can, I guess, but... All right. So let's see. So you did 4. All mech size targets is 25 hits. And resolving damage. Okay, roll a d10. Let's see where you hit.
7.
A 7. Left side limb. All right, you did 7 kills to a left side limb on this thing with your burst of rockets. Exactly so. Tim has got the spirit of it.
See, the music for that has to be Thunderstruck by AC/DC because
I'm loving it.
Pounding in, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so Tim, let's see, because it's got 6 it's got a total of 6 legs, 3 on the left, 3 on the right. So I guess we can just kind of pick one at random if you want to roll a d6, and we'll see which left side limb it was. All right. So you did 7 points to the number 3, to the number 3 leg. So yeah, you see armor get shredded, goes just blasting off, and the plates on that leg are starting to look weak.
All right.
Alrighty. So, it's a new round. Tim, roll your initiative. You're going to be D10 plus 2.
A 4.
A 4. All right. And they roll a total of 2. Tim, where do you want to go? What do you want to do?
I think we got to do the same thing. We got to do a missile attack with a heavy autocannon.
You're just going to stand fast, rip off pack number 3, and then lay in with the autocannon. I like the cut of your jib. Roll your missile attack.
Which I get a +1 on, right?
Mm-hmm. A total.
9.
9. All right. Roll your autocannon attack, and we'll do the reflex dodges for each of those.
A 1.
A 1. Okay. So yeah, with modifiers that almost certainly misses, but let's go ahead and roll.
I suck with an autocannon. I just suck.
Right? Oh my god. Okay. So, dodges the missile pack.
Bastards.
And let's see, that is a tie.
Tie goes to the runner.
You know, that's a fine question. We should definitely look this up. We should definitely look this up. It was fairly simple in old Mechton 2, but I definitely wanted to run the one that you can currently get. I know we do a lot of discontinued games and unobtainium around here, but I think it behooves to play the one that you can actually buy from our Talsorian, because again, sometimes it's fun to play the old stuff, and sometimes I want to point you guys at something you can actually buy. Elvin Made In, hello. Hey, we're doing something right up your alley. We're having a Japanese anime-inspired giant robot combat. All right. So let's see. And it's wonderful to see you. I hope you're having a lovely evening. By the way, guys, if you haven't checked it out, follow Elvin Made In over on Twitter. She has an absolutely fantastic Twitter. So,
oh yes, hello, I follow you.
All right. So let's see. Ties. Okay, you must make a roll using the same stats and skills on the result of ties. So just re-roll it. But it was a 1 on that autocannon attack, so this would actually behoove you.
A 5.
A 5, okay. And they attempt to dodge. And they do. But at least the tie is broken. All right.
Yeah.
So here we go. And just 1 second, guys. I need to adjust a light also.
So while Bill's doing this, we should say hello to everybody out there in YouTube land. I thought I'd put on my radio announcer voice just to try it out. And yes, this is me drinking water because I've not been feeling well the last few days, so I thought wine would be a bad idea.
But it's grape juice. It's got all that vitamin C, Tim.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the alcohol part would have been the bad idea.
All right. Okay, so your opponent closes in and is going to fire the beam gun again at you, Tim. So here we go. I got a total of 5. Give me a defensive roll, if you would, please, Tim.
A 3.
A 3. Okay, you are hit.
You got me. You got me.
So the beam gun. Whoops. Why did you go to that one? There, that one. So the beam gun does a mere pittance. It is 1 point of damage, and this is going to be over on your left side. They apparently relied too heavily on their beam technology. All right, so 1 point, and oh, well, I guess I need to roll the d10. All right, so you take 1 point in the left side arm, I believe, Tim.
Okay, well, I'm going to assume you're tracking that because I have
yes,
no idea.
I am. It just scratches some paint. Thank you,
Wow.
Cicero. Thank you for watching the channel. Hi to your brother. Alrighty. So it is the new round, Tim.
Okay.
They've closed in. You can just see the cockpit glass. It's mirrored. It's very sinister looking. You can't see the pilot within. Initiative time. Roll that d10 with modifiers.
Okay, so while we're rolling modify, I didn't put the modifier, which is a +1, I think, but
okay.
So I got a 3. But I want to ask a question while we're doing that.
Alrighty.
Can I aim at a particular part of the robot?
Yes, there are absolutely called shots.
Okay.
And your opponent will go first. The rather frightening looking machine. You see another missile pod open up, and a cloud of missiles flies out at you. Getting a 4, which is a flat 4. So give me a defensive roll, Tim.
A 3?
A 3, but you add your piloting and your mecha reflexes, so that becomes a 5. You just kind of do that Neo from the Matrix as the missiles corkscrew around your mech's machine, they will fire a second phalanx of missiles at you, or rockets rather. Getting a 1, and that is a flat 1. So Tim, I think yes, even with a 3, you're kind of, like I said, you're doing the whole Neo from the Matrix as the missiles corkscrew around you. You want
All
to
right.
change your facing slightly and let him have it?
Yeah, so I think we're going to move around a little bit, and we're going to take a heavy autocannon and another missile barrage, but I want to aim it at no, I don't want to do that. I want to aim it at the cockpit.
Okay, so if you're going to move, you're only going to get one weapon shot, because firing separate weapons are different, are separate actions. So you can move and fire one weapon, or stay still and fire two.
No, let's stay still and fire two.
Okay. Now I will point out, to be fair, your two light autocannon are linked. Firing both of them is only one action.
Oh well, shoot. Let's do that.
All right. So
let's do a missile and the light autocannon.
All right. So missile and both light autocannon. Alrighty, they are still technically in your front arc. You do not have to change facing to see them. So do your missile attacks, and they, even though they're linked weapons, they're still separate. They're still separate rolls.
10.
So 10 is going to be damn hard for them to beat. Now you're doing the autocannon at the cockpit. That's the targeted shot.
Yes.
Okay. So the missiles are a 10. Let me make my defensive reflex. Oh, I saw that 8 and thought I had a chance, but no. So the missiles hit. Roll a d10 to see where they hit. 8. I think that may be right side, but it also could be torso. Let's, once again, as always, too many things open up. So, and I'm looking for that page. Okay, so 8 is left side limb again. So you hit one of the legs. Roll a d6 again to see what one you hit.
1.
You won. This time it is the rearmost leg, and you did 4 kill. I believe it's 4 kills, but yeah, your missiles splatter there. Now you're doing a called shot with the linked autocannon to the head, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, so let's look at called shots. So called shot penalty. Now you don't have to do this, but you can absolutely, you can absolutely still do this. A called shot on the sensors, which is what the head is, a called shot on the sensors, is at a penalty of -5.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So if you just want to hose them down,
let's just hose them down.
All right. So take your first shot.
9.
That's going to be tough for me to beat. Take your second shot.
5.
And 5. Okay, so a couple defensive actions coming up here. I mean, your 9 effectively, well, let's see, it's -1, but it's plus. Okay, so it effectively becomes a 10. So I've got, do not dodge that one, and
definitely dodge the other one.
Definitely dodge the other one. So roll your location, please. A D10 first, and then we'll see if it. Yeah.
1.
A 1. Tim, you know how you wanted to shoot the head?
Mm-hmm.
You did.
Nice.
All right. So you do hit the head. And that is the light autocannon.
Hey, Bill, somebody asked the name of the game, and I'm drawing a blank off the top.
Oh, this is Mechton Zeta. Mecton Zeta. You can get this from R. Talsorian. I picked up Mecton Zeta and the kind of advanced construction rules Mecton Zeta Plus off of Drive Through RPG for 15 apiece. I think I did not see if it was print on demand, but I think you can get physical copies from RTAL or from other RPG vendors. I mean, my copy of Mecton Zeta, which is the core rule book, was probably purchased at some time in the 90s and says $12. So it's probably adjusted a lot for inflation. It might set you back 20, 25 now. So, alrighty. So you hit the head. You shot it in the head. So let's see the effect. All right. Servos, pod, weapon, propulsion, power plant. If the hit penetrates the armor or the servo the cockpit is in, it vaporizes the pilot, leaving the mecha whole but useless. Okay. How much damage does that autocannon do? Let's see. So we're talking
Always go for the head.
Always go for the head. You should have gone for the head. All right. So that is 2 kills. And let's look over at the Kraken and see.
So, Highlander, will you be the one?
Your attack was too slow. No better than that of a clumsy child. But I don't think that's the case at all, actually. I rather think your attack was just fine. All right, so.
One ping only, Vasily.
One ping only, Vasily. Oh, well, Tim has ended our demonstration combat rather quickly this evening because he cuts loose with a burst of collapsed, depleted uranium slugs and just hoses the cockpit. You're not sure if the gods of the stars are with you or whether it's just your absolute skill, but the mech kind of shudders to a stop and sort of staggers and then just stands there. You can see.
When I worked in the lab, I could break anything. So this works out pretty well. Right?
So yes, there are dinner plate sized impact craters where the HEAP rounds all punched through, leaving nice, neat holes. The adrenaline starts to fade. You start breathing easily. You're watching like your bio monitors in the cockpit there. You know, your heartbeat starts to slow down. The pleasant female voiced AI assistant, is telling you that your adrenaline rate is normalizing and the target is no longer moving.
Well, if it's the one that sounds like Scarlett Johansson, I guarantee you it's not. It's staying elevated for a while.
No, it's just the sort of pleasant, generic, who did that voice sci-fi? Ellen McLean. She voiced GLaDOS in the Portal games. So yeah. So there you have it. Fast and Furious. I just as easily could have ended Tim's character's life as he ended this pilot's character's life. But once you get into stuff like custom machines and, like if this had been a 0G flight and they had been zipping past each other at a flying rate of 7 to 9, it could have been a completely different affair. Tim, what'd you think?
It's interesting, but I have a question. So I've never played this game before. I've never seen it.
That's fine.
With something like this, can I go then scavenge the other robot for parts and like stick them in a warehouse and eventually, use them for something, or do they just kind of get left on the field and that's that?
Okay, so it is entirely incumbent on the kind of universe that the game master has. If we were doing something like a BattleTech, which I'm not sure if you're familiar with, some of my audience might be. But BattleTech is very much Mad Max the Road Warrior, but in space with big stompy robots. The factories that produce battle mechs are few and far between and hardly function anymore. So the great houses might get a couple of dozen brand new mechs. The rest of them are pieced together from old ones. Sure, they'll put a new coat of paint on it and they'll hide the weld marks and everything, but the truly reliable machines are the ones that are 300 and 400 years old or come out of those automated factories. If you're doing kind of a more, Star Trek sort of society, which is kind of my mind's eye image of this, what would happen in this case is the authorities would come, your parents would come out of their safety bunker, all of your siblings, even the one that would hate you would be like, good job, I guess, but the military would likely haul this thing off because for you, and even for pilots who are fully, regularly enrolled in the military, getting a new war machine it's literally just a case of, yeah, I got hit in the reactor and I pulled the ejection handle and I bailed out. Okay, no worries. We got a new machine ready to go. So it literally just depends on what a given game master is doing. Yes, but in this case, in the scenario that we had, this would probably be a case of the military, the government would show up and be like, good job. We're just going to take this back and study it. Kind of like a sort of, if you think of, what if you had your own private airstrip and someone, they fled China in one of their new, what is it, the J-21 or whatever stealth planes and landed it at your private airstrip. Yeah, that's really keen, but the Air Force, the NSA, they're all going to be like, thank you very much for your assistance. We'll be taking this now.
And then I would walk out because, I'm the good looking, charismatic, not smart one and go, get no respect, man.
Right. But there's a lot thematically that goes into kind of an anime role-playing game, or a role-playing game that draws its vibe from anime, and I cannot show that picture on screen. I don't know. I don't know. Well, I mean, Tim's, and no offense, man, Tim's channel is not monetized yet, but we were looking through some inspirations for D&D art a couple of weeks ago, and yeah, there was one that I was just like, yeah, I could not put that up on my channel.
Yeah, I'm not worried about being demonetized.
Right. But yeah, so
and if you're not subscribed to my channel, I'm at 754. So
that's right. Let's get Tim over 1,000, because it's not just about the ching ching. It's about visibility.
Well, it's algorithm placement, right? So if you go over 1,000, the YouTube algorithm likes you better. And if you're interested, lately I've been rereading the old Tom Clancy books because I watched this documentary that claimed they know he was a CIA asset and he was being fed information. And I don't buy off on it just based on his reading. So I started rereading his books, and I'm finding it harder and harder to argue against as I go deeper into them.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up, Tim, because you like Tom Clancy. Look, I'm gonna throw a gauntlet down for you because there's a movie I absolutely want you to see because you like Tom Clancy, and I'm guessing you like the giant robot stuff here tonight,
of course,
right?
Yeah.
Okay. There is a movie. I will send you the link to it. And audience, I want you guys to check it out too. Please check out a film called Patlabor, Patlabor, the movie 2. It is a sequel to the first one. Patlabor, the movie 2, is set in a slightly futuristic Japan, not like super science. It has giant stompy robots, but it very much is a Tom Clancy novel with those elements. They don't overpower. It's not like every scene, here's a guy in a machine that fires off 300 missiles in a barrage. It is a very calm, reflective film about the nature of war, politics, and the United States and Japan's relationship with each other at the end of the Cold War. It is a thinker of a movie. Don't look at the giant robot on the DVD cover and think, "Oh yeah, okay, this is going to be a giant smashy robot." There is some giant smashy robot stuff in it, but
So,
check it out because it is again, it's like a Tom Clancy novel.
so one thing I have figured out about Tom Clancy, though, after rereading, so far I've reread Hunt for Red October, Red Storm Rising, which was not Jack Ryan, Patriot Games, and I just finished Cardinal in the Kremlin, is one of the things he goes at great length to do, which is different from Lee Child. This is I had to show this off because I finally found a first edition copy of Killing Floor. Been looking for it for years. Actually have one now. It when you get down to where characters in the book have to shoot somebody, he goes to great lengths to explain just what that kind of does to the person who has to pull that trigger. Whereas, like, Lee Child is like, yeah, he shot 5 people. He's, now he's having pie, right? It's a whole different world.
Right.
So I find it interesting that Tom Clancy gets really deep into the psychology of the whole thing, whereas a lot of modern action writers go a completely different direction. Whereas Tom Clancy had like all that really hardcore detailing it, with the exception of Hunt for Red October and Kabuki Kid. That is awesome that you have one. But when I was doing my video on Hunt for Red October, I did a lot of research on that, and this is one of the things that I think really it's not proof, but it's either means that Tom Clancy was either really, really lucky or he knew somebody, right? So Hunt for Red October was coming out, and he had a movie option on that within 60 days. And the movie option was actually based on a pre-release version of it. So a movie director got a copy of the proof plates, read the book, and went, "Oh, I need to option this." That never happens on a debut author. Like, never. The book went out through Naval Institute Press with a pressing of like 14,000 copies or something, which was insane. And like 4 months after that, is seen on President Reagan's desk. He's either the luckiest guy on the face of the earth, or something was going on, because I checked. Naval Institute Press has only ever put out, I believe the number was 3 fiction novels, and Hunt for Red October was one of them, and you've never heard of the other 2.
I gotta admit, I haven't. I have not.
Yeah, it's an amazing book. It's a good movie. The movie and the book are a lot different than each other, but they kind of be. But to me, that particular set of facts alone says he was getting help from somebody. I don't know who it was, but he was getting firm help from somebody, because some insurance salesman out of Baltimore doesn't have that kind of connection in Hollywood.
So I gotta tell a fun story. When Hunt for Red October came out, I think it was 87 or 88 that the film came out. At any rate, we had a naval training center here in Orlando, and one of the reasons that the U.S. Navy worked closely with the filmmakers was a couple of years prior, there had been a huge recruiting boost with Top Gun, guys that wanted to work on carriers. Even if they knew they had no shot at becoming an aviator, they at least wanted to be in naval aviation. And it was they saw a huge uptick of guys who wanted to go into that specialty. So they okayed involvement in the Hunt for Red October because they wanted it to do the same for the subforce. The night my dad and I saw Red October open, we were in the front row, but all the way on the left. Those are the only seats. And Tim, I'm telling you, every other seat in the theater had a guy in a white uniform, in a trainee's uniform there. And I mean, during all the key moments, that place went nuts. Those guys, I mean, you would have thought it was the second coming. They were showing up on the screen.
So it came out in 1990. The book was 84. So if you think about this again from the perspective of how the heck did they pull this off? Debut author, nobody's ever heard of this guy. He gets a $30 million movie, it goes from a book to a movie in 6 years, and it's a big movie. $30 million budget, and he pulls in Sean Connery, Alec Baldwin, Scott Glenn, James Earl Jones, Sam Neill, right? And it does 200 million box office in 1990, right? And I saw it in the theater too. It was big. The only way you can describe this is there was not an empty seat in that house for weeks. They were packed to the rafters. So it was just one of those films that everybody saw. And when those words came up on the screen about, according to
the CIA, this never happened.
Like the whole theater goes, whoa. It's just like this one of those moments where everybody's like, okay, what are we in for here? And some of those underwater sea battles, man, for not having CGI like you do now, they pulled off a miracle in that thing.
Yeah, that was Revell Revell model submarines, and they were blowing cigarette smoke to make the haze.
Yeah, it was
that is crazy.
And on the big screen, it looked fantastic.
It looked amazing on the big screen. I seem to recall that I don't think this is right, but I know for a fact there are digital effects on scene for some of them, and I have the vaguest recollection that they said the bubbles from the torpedoes and any cavitation they showed were CGI. But that for 1990, I don't know.
How did they get the Navy to agree to do all this? I mean,
it shows the Navy in a good light, and it is a recruitment. It is a huge recruitment draw.
I mean, they had pictures of submarines, like the Los Angeles class coming out of the water and stuff, and I don't think anybody had ever seen that before.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just a lot of that stuff. It was like, wow, where did they get all that crap? Right?
Well,
and
I mean,
when they were one or the other, it was just incredible.
When they were shooting Top Gun, Tony Scott wanted golden hour light to shoot on the flight deck, and he wanted the wind to blow a certain way. And they literally turned the ship for him. They moved the entire carrier to get Tony Scott that golden hour light and the wind across the deck the way he wanted it.
So Doc Flamingo, not too soon. That's kind of funny. Doc Flamingo's like, oh, Alec Baldwin shooting someone. Absurd. But I will tell you, I have held this opinion forever. I think this was the performance of Alec Baldwin's career. I don't think I've ever seen him better in anything else than he was in this movie.
Yeah.
He was young. He was surrounded by amazing actors. I think it elevated him in a way that I've never seen him perform before or since.
I have. So there are certain performances, I think, on film that become iconic and they stick to you. So when I was a kid, Tim, did you see the Hobbit cartoon when it first came out?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. When I was a kid and I saw that, from that point, literally until 2000, when the Lord of the Rings came out, when I would read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, John Huston, who voiced Gandalf in The Hobbit in 1977, that was the voice I heard when I read Gandalf's stuff. Yeah. And when I read later Jack Ryan novels, I always pictured it as Alec Baldwin. It was a masterful performance, and I wish because I mean they've had like 9 guys portray
four, five.
Five.
Yeah, 5.
Not counting the TV show.
Yeah, well, the TV show, if you count the TV show, it's 5. But the TV show is so much different than the books because you kind of had to because it's not the Cold War anymore. But the one thing I will tell you is that movie still has a line in it that I will make a joke every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, I should have written a goddamn memo. It's just as he's getting on the helicopter because he hates to fly. He's like, next time, Jack, write a memo. It's just like,
There's so many good performances in it. I mean, for me, I mean, personally, once you get outside of Connery and of course, I mean, heck, it's so hard to pick one, but I really, really like Scott Glenn as a captain of the Dallas.
Yes, he was incredible. And the the Sonar Man, everybody was incredible.
Jonesy, yeah.
And I started reading. I just, like I said, I just finished Cardinal of the Kremlin, which was basically about SDI and laser weapons, and I just put a video out about it today. And I'm not sure how he figured out the science in it, to be honest, because I looked at what he put in the book on the laser weapon stuff, and I'm like, he is just absolutely dead on. And today you could just go Google it and find it out. But he wrote the book in 1988. Like, it was a whole different world. So I went back to like old science journals. I'm like looking through them, trying to go, can he really figure that out from these old science journals? Now, I have a freaking PhD in physics and 12, 13 years at MIT, longer in industry and a bunch of other stuff. I've worked with high-powered lasers, right? I know the stuff. And it took me a couple of hours to piece together whether or not he could have done it with 1980s publicly information. Turns out, yes, you can, but it gave me a headache trying to do it. He's an insurance salesman from Baltimore.
I'm going to ask you then, since you know, can you freeze the medium of a laser?
You can. There's solid state lasers. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I have always, I just figured that the light going through it would refract so badly through the crystals.
It's a whole different thing.
Okay.
You're talking about a whole different thing.
Okay. That's fine. We'll do that in another video.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is real genius. And there was this thing about freezing the laser and making it more powerful. But I can tell you, getting the surface temperature of the sun quickly is not a big trick. I did it at MIT when I was still there. That with carbon nanotubes loaded with deuterium, we threw a microwave source at it. We took it from room temperature to the surface temperature of the sun and beyond in 100 microseconds. And then it melted the lab apparatus we had it in because it was really hot. So,
no, I can imagine.
But we did get helium-3 and neutrons out of it, which meant we had fusion reactions, which is a good thing.
Very cool. Yes, Kabuki. I many late nights chasing down Soviet ships and dodging bombers and all sorts of fun stuff in Red Storm Rising from Microprose. I was a little heartbroken because I thought it would be a holistic game. I literally snatched it off the shelf, went up to the cashier at Walden Books, paid for it, took it home, sat down, and then started looking through it. I thought you'd get to do all the cool stuff, fly the B-52, drive the Abrams tank, all that on 3 or 4 floppies for the C64, but it was just a sub part, but it was still fun. It was still cool.
Red Storm Rising, I just reread that one not that long ago too. It's probably still one of the, for the time, one of the better what a World War then could have looked like sort of books. There's some guys trying to go back now and write World War III books that like, hey, here's what would have happened if we fought it in 1990. And I still think Red Storm Rising is the best one. But what gets me about it is it's very non-Tom Clancy-ish in a lot of ways, because he actually did co-author that, even though his name's on the front cover with Larry Bond.
With Larry Bond.
Yeah,
that's right.
And Larry Bond, I think, brought it into that sort of bigger combat stuff, because Tom Clancy was very much a narrow focus on intel and individual action stuff. But that is probably one of the better written books on that type of action I've ever seen.
And Bond is a war gamer. They gamed out a whole bunch of those scenarios.
He developed a war game, a submarine-based one, if I want to say. I'm thinking right.
Yeah,
but he was
Harpoon.
Huge. Yeah, Harpoon.
Yeah, Larry Bond was co-author of Harpoon,
and he was apparently showed up at war game conventions all the time and was a bigwig in the Avalon Hill war game space. So, which is cool because I tend to play those as well. So
yeah. But so yeah, there you go. That is MECHA. Good Lord, we've been going for like an hour and plus now.
Back to big stompy robots.
Back to big stompy robots. So Tim, given character creation and the snappiness of combat and that sort of thing, and I know this isn't too deep of a dive, like we didn't, like you've seen my deep dives before, at least heard about them, where I will read pages and pages and pages of the rules. But given this, is this something you would play again?
Sure. I mean, it's an interesting game. I'd play it again, but I will say the one thing I would suggest if somebody does want to go play it, don't expect you're going to create a character and play at the same time. right? Because it does take a little while to make a character. So if you
Right.
try to roll up 5 or 6 of them, it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
So like this is one I'd actually kind of like to play with my kids because I think they'd like it, but I'd probably have to come with some pre-gen characters because my teenagers are probably not going to sit through the character generation until they've played it once.
Yeah.
After that, they will want to go create their own, but you got to suck them in somehow. I call it
Yeah.
the gateway drug, right? My kids wouldn't play Dungeons and Dragons with me because the only, it was like they looked at my first edition stuff and went, ew. But then I bought some 5th edition stuff and they started playing, and now they'll actually play 1st edition stuff. So I used it as a gateway drug to pull kids over to the other ones. So
yeah, what I would recommend for this is if you're not going to use the default setting, because they do kind of kick around a few different settings as suggestions, but if your kids like they like anime, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Just find like Robotech or Macross, one of the new series, even, because there have been many follow-on series, or Mobile Suit Gundam, and let them pick their characters that they like out of that show, roll those up for them, and then the next week, boom, you're ready to go. Read up a little bit on the universe and throw some giant robots out on the table. And now I use tonight, let me just show you this real quick. As far as I know, I did it again. As far as I know, outside of the very first edition, and if somebody knows different and you want to correct me, that's fine. There was no official miniatures line for Mechton. And because it is generic, it is for, hey, you can play Macross, you can play Dougram, you can even come back and play Battletech. Obviously, they can't make miniatures for all those lines. So tonight, I just grabbed a Battletech Marauder and Heavy Gear. I think that's a Black Mamba, and and this is a Battletech back from 1988. Actually, this is a Battletech map board. So you don't need anything special for it. If you feel like you need something colorful and 3-dimensional, any giant robot game machines are going to do. And as always, if you have the gumption and the equipment like I do, you can 3D print stuff till the cows come home.
So on that note, if anybody ever wants to do like 3D printing and stuff, 3D printers are not as expensive as they used to be, but they're still a couple $100. They're not free, right? Check your local library. Many of them will have 3D printers. You can send them the STL files, and they charge you like 5 cents a gram to print the stuff out. So you can get it printed for 60 cents. I mean, it's not expensive.
A question for both of us, Tim. I just kind of threw up on the screen there. I have played Longbow, and I have not played Jane's 688.
I have not played the 688, and I never played Longbow, but I've actually was in the Army, and when you're in, they are your best friend if you want something to come along and kill tanks, with the possible exception of the A-10 Warthog, and it's even better at killing tanks. But the Apaches, the Apaches are death to tanks from above.
They are dope helicopters. Yeah. Yes, they are. It's funny. Tim and I, we shared some posts back and forth on Twitter a couple of months back. And it's the old, this is what I think of when I think of a 50-year-old fighter jet. And I shared a picture of an F-89 Scorpion, which you can Google it. It's a straight wing jet that looks like you just took a World War II plane and stuck a couple of engine pods with jets.
Like an 80-year-old jet, actually.
Yeah, it's an 80-something-year-old jet. The F-15 Eagle is a 50-year-old jet.
50-year-old jet, man. It's better.
Yeah. The F-22 is like a
40-year-old
jet. Well, design-wise, it's almost 35 years old. Build-wise, it's almost 25 years old. But
so one of the missiles that's still in our missile defense packages is this thing called Hawk. The Hawk missile is still being used. Its initial design was like in the 1950s or something, and it's still being produced. Patriot was first designed in the 60s, and it's obviously still being used. It's been upgraded and changed a lot, but it's still out there. So yeah, I mean, some of this stuff doesn't ever go away, man. It just sticks around forever. The only one I was ever sad to see go was the SR-71 Blackbird, but it kind of outlived its usefulness. So we have now enough satellites to kind of do what it used to do. But man, those Blackbirds, those were cool.
But the U-2 is still flying.
And U-2 is still flying, but it doesn't cost like $1 bazillion a year to
also maintain. True.
Yes.
Yeah. Also. Now this was I saw an interesting quote, Tim, and I meant to mention this to you, and I thought you'd get a kick out of this, and of course anybody else out there in the audience, you might get a kick out of this, because I was watching a YouTube video about Bomber 2050. By the way, Bomber 2050 is the B-52. The last person to fly the B-52 has not been born yet. Think about that for a minute. The last person who will fly a B-52 has not been born yet.
Yeah, those things have been around forever. They're not going anywhere.
Although I have seen from a quote from transportation pilots that says the last B-52 crew will fly out of Davis Monthan Air Force Base in a C-130. And I mean, that's also true. That plane is almost as old as the B-52.
So here's one I want to leave everybody with, if you'll let me go on a slight tangent with airplanes for a second.
Go right ahead, Tim.
You ever hear of the C-5 Galaxy?
Of course.
It's the biggest cargo plane we have.
Huge plane.
Did you know the Wright brothers' first flight, including altitude, could have taken place in the back?
Yes. Altitude, aircraft wingspan, they'd have to be very careful not to snag any of the ribs.
Distance. All of it would work in the back. If it was like 6 inches wider, you could have just rolled the space shuttle into it.
That's nuts. That's nuts.
They're huge.
All right. Well, thank you, Tim, for joining us on an Independence Day big stompy robot shoot 'em up. We had rockets red glare. We had autocannon rounds bursting in air. Everyone, thank you for joining both of us tonight. Please go subscribe to Dr. Imholt's channel. He's this close to $1,000. Help him push over. And by the way, we have some other YouTube folks in the audience. RPG Grandma, show her some love. Subscribe to her channel also. But thank you all, everyone, for being here. I keep thinking it's Saturday and like, hey, I'm not doing a stream tomorrow. I am doing a stream tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow night at 9:00 for some Gamma World. So we're gonna have fun playing some Gamma World tomorrow night. And so Tim, I will see you soon.
You're taking a week off, so right?
I am taking a week off, so that's a week longer your character will live, Tim. Isn't that nice of me?
Yeah, next time I'm coming back as a mage so I can use the fireball whenever I feel like it.
There you go, brother. Thank you, Tim. Thank you for being here tonight. Take care.
No problem. You guys have a great night.
And I'm going to scoot out of here, and as I do, I'm going to play, of course, for you guys the national anthem of Owl Bears. Peace, everybody. I will see you around. Just got to turn off that mic filter so you can hear this in its crystal clear glory. Good night.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.